So. Come with me. We got to click record. So.
Okay. I'm fast. Are you leaning forward a bit?
What do you mean?
Or no, because I feel like I'm forward.
That's okay. We want you to shine. I'm leaning back. I'm not doing that action. Oh, my hair looks terrible in this.
Just fix that there.
Yeah.
I don't have any random pieces of hair.
No.
Okay.
It's
We're
okay.
live? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Sorry. I was already
I don't know
here.
how much you look at the camera versus you.
I think we just go back and forth, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you go.
Let's look at that first. I feel like we're on a TV show.
I gotta hold this away.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to That's Joy, the podcast. I am so excited to be here today because 1, we got a special guest in the house. 2, we are in a studio looking moment. We're not in my apartment. Shout out to anybody watching on YouTube. And 3, we're sharing some big news in our lives, and I know you plugged in because you probably saw on social, or maybe you're new here, but fiance, that's wild. Hello.
Hello. Show the camera the ring.
Yeah, baby. There she is.
Wow, we can't hit a zoom on it, but
I know we can't reach.
that's what
You
you get of
could
it.
pause and zoom in on your computer. Or
Go to Instagram.
There
See
we
the
go.
pictures.
Go to Instagram. For the people, in case they don't know, who in the world is Jonathan Lutz?
Good question.
Hit it.
Oh, goodness. Where do we start with this? First thing I would say, who's Jonathan Lutz? I'm just a good old Southern boy.
Yeah, you are.
Not from California, that's for sure. For you people listening who don't know, Cece's from California. I'm from Tennessee, and I obviously have the accent of a Tennessean. So, yeah, I'm just a guy from Tennessee. I'm an online nutrition fitness coach. I am a Christian. I am a fiance to Cece Calbonero. Future Cece Lutz. Ooh.
Wild.
Wow.
Heard it here first.
Heard it here first. Well, probably not. But, yeah, other than that, what else do we need to know about me? What?
No, that's good. I know you shared this, so for those of y'all who may not know yet too, Jonathan is a 2-time guest. We've only had about 2 different 2-time guests, and so this is your 2nd time on That's Joy.
Wow.
What an honor.
I'm sorry for everybody watching. We are holding our mics here, which I'm not used to, so I'm very awkward.
Oh.
Had to get that out of the way. for
You're
people
not
watching.
awkward. Okay.
That was awkward.
For those of y'all who are listening right now, Jonathan actually was on episode 25 of That's Joy, the podcast. And on that specific episode, I highly recommend you go plug into that because he gives a lot of value to what he spoke about, what he gets to do. But this episode is like an us episode, a very first like us episode. So just the quick version for those peeps. But when and how did you find God? Just give them a little background on that.
Oh, goodness. So that's kind of a loaded question. I grew up in the church. My parents were missionaries before I was born. What is that? I get on a mic and I can't talk. I also have my own podcast, so I'm not used to talking on here, just not used to conversating this closely with somebody else.
Literally,
So
we are
we're like
so
right
close.
beside each other and holding the mic and everything, so this is kind of different. But I was not born yet. My parents were missionaries. I came into the world and was under a house of amazing Christian people. So if you know my parents, you know that they are amazing people. My mom is the most loving person you ever meet. She is the angel of my heart, other than Cece.
Yes.
But literally, she's the most amazing person ever. I grew up in an amazing household and in an amazing church. Other than that, the other side of the story was really when I got into, I would say like my sophomore year of high school is really when I started to lean into my faith a little bit more. I was always the guy who was like lenient to get in trouble. I never ran away from the church or anything. Even growing up when I was in elementary school, I went to church camp. I was never really part of a youth group. But going into high school, I got into like self-development and things of that nature. And that also led me deeper into my faith as well, which is another story in itself. That's something I talk about a ton, is just the connection between self-help, fitness, health in general, your relationship with God, all that. That's another conversation. But that's what led me into it even deeper. Fast forward, I was playing football in college, found an amazing church there in the middle of Kentucky. We were super blessed, like an amazing church. I haven't really talked much about that. Cece doesn't even know that much about that. But
about what?
My church in college.
Oh,
so it's miniature belonging. If you are listening, you know who belonging is. It's like worship is amazing. Pastors are young and like just you connect with them, right? So I had that in college. I had a small church in the middle of Kentucky, which was really cool. But after college and transitioning out of that, I came to Nashville, found belonging, which is where we go to church, which is where we met.
Yep.
That's the story of my faith. And obviously, as you get older, you start to dive into like more in-depth questions about your faith. You start asking questions, learning more. I'm in an amazing men's group. Really cool story, actually. I met a guy essentially this is a short story. I met a guy in a coffee shop. I was listening to him talk to a book editor about a book he was writing. I asked to get on his newsletter so I could buy his book. He invited me to a Bible study, and I've been going every single week since, and that was about a year and a half ago. So amazing group of guys. Right now, my best friends, it come from that group. It was a really cool God moment. But that's the story.
Come on. That was so good. Wow. Way to do like a little, like a 3-minute moment. It's so funny because I get the opportunity to ask that question a lot to guests, but there are a couple moments where I have the honor of being on other people's podcasts, and when they ask the question of like, who are you? I'm like, who am I? The older you get, the heftier that question becomes, I feel. So
yeah, and it's like, how do I answer that? Like, who am I in my career and my relation? Yeah. It's like, what are we talking about here? But
no, that was good. That was so good. So that is Jonathan Lutz, and I am so grateful that with all of those things, everything that he's walked through, how he has got, like, honestly, how he was brought up, I feel like God is so good. He's just such in the details of everything. I shared this on our very first episode, but I used to always joke with girlfriends and say that my future husband was someone who loved Jesus and can throw a football, and Jonathan was the quarterback of his football team. So come on, Lord, just doing all the little things too. His family is incredible. I can't wait to now be officially a part of the family, and you're going to be a part of the big Filipino family. And we just need to spill the tea now. So I think on the last episode, I explained a lot about our story, like our love story, but I'm sure the girlies are dying to know. Wait, hold on. We hear a lot of you, Cece. We want to hear from Jonathan's perspective what that love story is all about. So give us just, if you met up with your best buddy that you haven't seen in a while, who's Cece, bro? Like, how did you meet her, and how are y'all engaged now?
I like that question. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry I mentioned this again, but I'm so awkward right now with my hands. I'm used to talking with my hands, and I can't really do that.
You're not awkward.
But with this mic, I can't move my hands like I normally would.
Go.
If you see my Instagram, you know what I mean. I talk with my hands. So, if I was describing our story, who is Cece to a friend or somebody I just met. So, I guess just a year ago, I was... one of our friends, mutual friends, Reagan, if you listened to the other episode, you heard about her. But I met her through coaching. So she's also a health and nutrition and fitness coach. Really, really good person, amazing coach as well. And I got to know her pretty well. She was living in Nashville at the time. And she was actually moving back to her hometown, and she was going to come to the Belonging for the last Sunday, I believe, before she left. Something to that extent. And on that Sunday, she had a few friends that she caught in the lobby before leaving. And those two friends were Jay, which is our mutual, very good friend, and Cece was obviously the other friend. And that moment really didn't do anything, right? Like, I just met her that Sunday.
Wait, you didn't like go home and like say, "Oh my gosh, that girl is so gorgeous," and like
I did not. I didn't do that. I didn't. See, I'm not that person. I didn't go home and journal about it. I don't know if she did. She can tell you that much. But I met her and Jay. Obviously, I was like, oh, look at this beautiful girl. I thought she was Hawaiian at the time because if you look on her Instagram, she has pictures of her and her family in Hawaii. I was like, oh, that makes sense. She's Hawaiian. looking fine. But fast forward, I don't know, was it 2 weeks? It's got to be 2 weeks after that. I go into church with my friend Erin. Hopefully she's listening as well. She'll probably share this. But Erin was going to church with me at the time. Really, really good friend. She was actually at the proposal right after with my family. So she's like super close friend, essentially a sister to me. She was at church with me. We went to sit in our normal spot, which was on the left side of the church. And we just happened to sit directly beside Cece. And I did not even recognize she was there until... when the pastor does the awkward stand up and shake a hand, and I turn to the right, and Cece is literally right there. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I literally just met this girl 2 weeks ago. So that was just a little moment. And then after that, after the service, Cece invited me and Erin to go out, and I straight turned her down. Not really.
Did not. Don't get it twisted.
Not fully. I didn't turn her down. But what did happen was we were busy and we couldn't go. So that is actually what happened. But I think at that moment I followed you. So at some point I followed her.
You followed me months ago.
Okay. I followed her at some point on Instagram because of Reagan, once again. And I obviously met her on that Sunday. And then I met her 2 weeks later just randomly in church. Obviously not randomly. That was a God thing. But so leading after that, I believe I was posting on my Instagram story. I think we liked each other's stuff back and forth, and then I posted on my Instagram story. I was walking at my favorite place, which was McCabe Park, which is a beautiful spot in Nashville, great golf course, which I love to run and walk at. And I was walking there, and Cece slid in the DMs and was like, "Will you marry me?" And I was like, "Not right now, but give it a year." So actually she did respond to that story. I was like, oh, I love that place. And I was like, oh, why don't you go on a walk with me sometime? And she was actually where were you?
Italy.
She was in Italy with her friend Jasmine for her bachelorette. Yeah, so really cool there. But I was like, yeah, well, once you get back, let's go on a walk. So once she got back from Italy, we went on a walk. And we walked around McCabe for an hour and a half. Just, it was a great conversation, great walk. And then, just from there, I don't really... After that, we went on a date. I asked her to go on a date. We went and got... what did we go? Sushi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we both love sushi.
Yeah, we both
love Asian food. And then after that, just...
You didn't pay for my matcha in between, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's a true story. We did go to a coffee shop a few times. The very first time we went to a coffee shop, I did not pay for her matcha. Guys, if you're listening, don't do that. Pay for the matcha.
Because they will go home and think, oh my gosh, he didn't pay for my matcha. He didn't like me.
Here's the thing, though. I pay for her stuff from then on.
You do.
Every single time. I don't know what happened then. I think the fact was she walked in front of me and went and ordered, and it wasn't like we're ordering together. So that was the part where I was like, oh, she doesn't want me to pay. Something to that extent. It wasn't me, I'm not paying for you, because obviously I would do that. But yeah, that's the story.
That's so good. I love our story so much. Just for context, too, a little bit of my end of those first initial moments. I want to share this because I want to make sure that the person listening right now, that hopefully, I pray to God that you're just encouraged. If you were walking in singleness right now, that you're encouraged to pray. Pray at every corner. When I met Jonathan, when he followed me, months ago, I think it was May, and then we met in August, something like that. It had been a bit. But I remember creeping on your page, and I was like, he's cute. Who's this cutie? And I was like here, then you would like my stuff. We played that game for a little bit, not much. And I remember meeting you, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is way cuter in person. Not that your Insta doesn't make you cute, love, because you are cute. But wow, in person, wow, look at this face. But I remember thinking that, and I remember going back home, and I was like, God, if there's anything to do with this man's, I pray that you would open the door, and if not, I pray you'd close it. And that has been my constant prayer throughout our entire dating. And so, that's funny.
We actually just got, Cece got a call from Jay that I just mentioned, our friend.
Yep. I'm just going to put, call you in because he might try to call again.
Yeah, that is so true, though. Pray into the person you are
looking
for.
to be your partner for life. Yeah.
We could have a whole episode on things that we were doing
That's
in the
true.
time, But
maybe later. There's a lot of time ahead of us.
And also tell your mama to pray. My mama's been praying.
Your mama has been praying. Eva's been praying too. Okay, so anyhow, I was praying 2 weeks. In between those 2 weeks, I just said one prayer and I was like, make a way, Lord, like if it's supposed to be anything, and then released it. And I remember walking into church that Sunday when we sat together, I had this Holy Spirit stirring that I was supposed to sit by myself. And I have really great guy friends who I love so much, but I had this feeling of like, I'm not going to find my future husband if I keep sitting with my guy friends, because it's me and my guy friends. And every time we'd meet people, they'd be like, oh, were you guys? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, they're my best friends. And so I was like, sit by yourself. So I literally sat by myself, and that's when I met Jonathan. And so I think that those nudges are things that we cannot ignore, because it's just a part of his divine plan and his divine appointment. So I love that story so much. And literally ever since then, it does feel like every week we would get dinner and coffee and all the different things. And then 1 year passes and you're on a knee. So hello.
Boom.
Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, so now is the moment that you guys have been waiting for. You're like, Cece, we're 15 minutes in, you still haven't talked about the engagement story. We needed to give you a little background to set the stage, because this engagement was truly like everything that I could have prayed for. It is wild, and I am still, like, this happened 1 week ago, y'all, and I still have several moments where I'm like, was that real? Like, is all this real life? And honestly, just such in awe, like during quiet time every single day this week, I've just been like, every detail, God, like you have been a part of every detail. And I am trying so diligently to like journal about everything, because I want to be 55 and 80 years old and be able to look back at everything that I wrote like, holy moly, like he did that and he's still doing things today. And so now explaining the story. So it is Sunday of last week, and Jonathan just acts like it's a normal Sunday. Mind you, we've been talking about engagement for a couple months leading up to this. Like, all right, future. We've had conversations about marriage. I know a handful of people on Instagram were like, were you surprised? I was surprised in the sense that I didn't think that it was happening that Sunday, but I wasn't surprised that he was on his knee and that we were going to get married, because we've had these conversations. Again, that could be a whole other topic for a whole other episode. But it was a typical Sunday. I keep sharing the hair piece, but truly it was like day 3 hair. And like for the girlies that are listening, you're like, okay, I get it. Like she wasn't trying to do anything. You know what I mean?
Her hair was nappy.
No. People are going to think you actually think that.
I'm just joking. I'm seriously joking.
This is Jonathan
I would have
behind
never
the
known
scenes.
that she didn't do her hair. It looked incredible, as always.
Thank you.
The Filipino hair.
Yeah, that's true. It holds curls really well. But anyhow, did very simple, minimal makeup, and I was wearing my black jeans that I wear so much that they have that natural fade that I kind of still like. It's a vibe. And then a simple brown sweater, you know? And I walk out of the apartment that morning. Jonathan walks upstairs, and we're literally matching, but this isn't the first time, because this happens so often where we literally see each other and we're like, what the heck? We're matching. But after that, we go to church, and again, I'm just thinking that this is a typical Sunday. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of service, our friend Lindsay texts both of us in a group chat. And she is like, hey guys, I recently just sold a dresser. I need to have it moved, but I broke my rib. Is there any chance that you can swing by here right after church to help me move it? And our girl has been moving and going through it, and we have tried to just help her every time that she has moved. And so when this text came up, I was like, oh, awesome. I remember a couple weeks ago she was telling me that she was trying to sell her furniture, so I'm so glad that she sold it. I turned to Jonathan and I was like, you good to go? Like, we're going right after here? And he's like, yeah, for sure, like we can go right after. And I'm like, okay, great. So text her back, yep, we'll jump right there right after. On our drive there, she's texting me and she's like, thank you guys so much, I can get you coffee. And if there's one thing about knowing how to get to my heart, it is from a specialty coffee will get you straight to my heart. And so when she said that, I was like, oh, Jonathan, we could try the new coffees at Honest.
She was actually pumped.
No,
about that. And I was like trying to contain myself.
You probably were like, little do you know.
I was like, wait, are we actually going to get the coffee?
We still need to get the coffee.
Yeah, we never tried the coffee she wanted.
I know, but anyhow, I'm going up into her building. She just moved into a beautiful high-rise in downtown Nashville, and there's this coffee shop that just opened right underneath, and so I'm like, all right, let's get the specialty coffee, let's go upstairs, let's help her move this dresser, and then let's go meet up with the guys for brunch, and then go to work, just our typical Sundays, you know? And so as we are meeting up, we're going up the elevator, I quickly realized that we're getting pretty high. And I was like, And I was like, Lindsay, what floor are we going to? And she was like, 29. And so in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl's like, is she rocking penthouse now? 29th floor, come on. And so I was like so set, you guys, on this dresser. So I'm like waiting and anticipating her to walk up to a door and then swing over her apartment door. But we're walking down this hallway, and little do I know, she's trying to distract me from looking to the right where our friends are. But she shows us pictures of this Preds game that she goes to the night before. She's like, oh, look at this Preds game that I went to. So I'm looking at her phone instead of anywhere else while we're walking, quickly distracted, and we turn the corner and I see a bunch of natural light poking through, and I was like, that's weird. It feels like the door's open or something. We turn the corner. I see this proposal set up, and for a split second, y'all, I think that it's for someone else. I literally was like, oh my gosh, someone's getting proposed to. And then as we're walking closer and closer, that's when my heart literally just feels like it falls out of my chest, because I realized that Nervous by John Legend is blasting, which is a song that we both love so much that we played a bunch throughout our year of dating. And Jonathan grabs my hand, walks me closer and closer to the moment that my friends helped curate and set up, and it was a white rug with beautiful white flowers behind it, and they created a little aisle of greenery. And before I know it, I'm quite literally outside of my body. I don't know how else to explain it, but I was there but not there. You were on your knee, and I just was shook. And you tell your side of it. I was so overwhelmed.
No, that was literally it. I guess, obviously, I had the other side of the story, which was I knew what was going on the entire time.
Yeah.
So I woke up that morning hoping everything would work out as planned. We're in church, obviously. She has no idea what's going on. Lindsay texts us. Actually, rewind a second. I was waiting for Lindsay to text us. I haven't really told you that. I was like, when is she going to text? It was 20 minutes until church was over.
Oh.
So I thought she would text before church or right as church started. It was 20 minutes until church was over. So that was oh shoot, is she going to text? Did she forget? So that was my thought. And then, obviously, she texts, so I was like, yep, there we go. And I kind of had to put my acting skills on in the middle of church, oh, yeah, let's go help her.
You did really good.
I was like, yeah, I guess we can go help her and then go straight home. So that was great on my part.
That was good. Good acting.
I'm not an actor, guys, so.
I mean, there might be opportunity there.
Yeah, but, we left, and I thought this was funny. She kept asking the guys, what are y'all doing for lunch? What are y'all going to do after? What are you doing after we get coffee?
Because I was really wanting to hang.
She was like, let's go hang after. Which I was like, they know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. So, we're going up, and everybody asked me, was I nervous? I was not nervous until we started going up the elevator, and I realized this may be bad. I had not thought about what I was going to say yet. So we were going up the elevator, and I was like, shoot, I need to figure out something to say here. And truthfully, when we got to the actual proposal and I was on my knee, I didn't know exactly what I was going to say. I just started talking and I blacked out, so I couldn't tell you what I said now. She blacked out as well, didn't say really a word.
I didn't.
And then I did ask her, will you marry me? So I did say that statement. I do remember
guys,
that.
I don't even remember him saying it. I remember one line you said, and you were like, the past year has been the best year of my life. And I was like, that's what sent me in tears.
That was the first line.
Oh.
And then she just forgot.
Then after that, I was gone.
Yeah, she was gone after that, and I did ask her, will you marry me? And then,
I
that was
yes.
it. And then, you can tell the story about, everybody.
Oh, the friends and stuff.
The friends
so,
and everything.
You guys, again, going back to the little details, I know it sounds so like surface level, like the whole quarterback thing, and the loving Jesus thing is not surface. That should absolutely be your number one priority. But there are little things that a girl dreams about, right? And so even when it came to a proposal, I remember our girlfriends, you probably are similar too. You have so many sleepovers and slumber parties. Like, girlies just think and dream about this day. And I remember sharing with some of my best friends, Taylor, Jamie, Lindsay, like Ash, all of them, just, oh my gosh, I just would want a view. Like, that would just be so cool to have a view. And then, of course, there's the and, right? And a photographer would be really cool. And if it was on video, that would be really cool. And if all of my friends could show up and be there, and we have like a mini celebration immediately after so that we can be all together, that would be really cool. And how good God is and how great Jonathan has been is just intentional with asking, like, my friends, what has CC talked about? And then too, like, executing it all together. And shout out to all of my friends who helped too. But they quite literally like brought my dreams to life. And I feel so, so grateful. And I'm still swimming in the gratitude of all of that. Really trying to like digest it and not ever let it get lost on me. But yeah, so literally right after we had our moment, Lindsay was like, let's get a couple pictures. And her photos are incredible. I still need to post so many of them on Instagram. But after that, it was 15 minutes, a group came out of my best friends. And then 15 minutes again, another group of people came out. 15 minutes later, your whole family from McEwen literally showed up. And then more friends. And then Aaron came. And it just was like, honestly, a rooftop overflowing with love is what it felt like. And for the entire time we were up there, I still was like, oh my gosh, is this happening? People are like, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm not here. It doesn't feel like I'm here. This is so crazy. Because usually I'm the person who's like planning and trying to surprise. I love doing that for my people. And to be the recipient of that, it's happened, I think, once before when my Guya came here, and I did not know that he was coming to Nashville. Guya means older brother, by the way, in Tagalog, for those who are listening and don't know that. But that was the only time that I can really recount where I was like genuinely surprised. And so for as long as we've been dating, I really thought that I would know when you were doing what you were doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, that was the hardest part of it. I was like, okay, she knows this is coming at some point, so I got to figure out how I can surprise her. And obviously, we go out, like, pretty consistently, right?
Yeah.
But we don't get, like, dressed up and, like,
true.
Get ourselves made looking fine, before we go out. And, like, if I did it on a Friday or a Saturday, I knew she was going to know that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is the night. And truthfully, she probably thought it was going to happen. I thought that she would think it would happen the week before on our 1 year
I thought it was going to be our 1 year.
Yeah, we went to a really nice one kitchen here in Nashville, really cool vibes. But
yeah,
I was like, how do I surprise her, make it, perfect, right? But it really worked out perfect with all her friends being able to be there, everything lining up.
Yeah.
Obviously, her friends are amazing as well. Shout out to Taylor and Jamie and Lindsay for doing everything. They helped me out so much, obviously. And people just being able to change her schedule was incredible. Obviously, amazing friends doing that. But, yeah, it literally worked out amazing where I was actually able to surprise her. So that was the one thing I knew she would love to be surprised and have amazing people there. So those were like the non-negotiables when I was setting everything up. Like, okay, we got to somehow surprise her and get everybody there. So, which I was going to make sure that everybody was there even if I didn't surprise her.
Yeah.
The people probably mattered more than the surprise.
For sure.
I figured. So,
for sure.
Yeah, and then Taylor, shout out Taylor, really helping me out with the ideas.
Yeah, you did so good. Yeah, and obviously, like, the moment was the moment, but now it's like, I think I've heard so many different things when it comes to wedding advice and marriage and all of that, but truly really recognizing that, like, okay, that moment was the moment, and that was like our start race. And even then it was just like the warm-up before the start race, because the start race is the wedding day. It's not like the day, but just the start of what God gets to do in and through the both of us in our relationship. And so I don't want to cry on here today, and this is not our vows, so I don't want to have a whole moment.
No crying. Also, in talking about crying, she did not cry near as much as I expected her to. Kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. Not really,
Actually,
but it really did not hurt my feelings. But I did expect her to cry a lot more. I think she was just like in shock that everything was happening and everybody was there, so she was like not crying. Because if you know her, she's a crier. But
I'm a crier.
She's a lover. She's a crier. But,
I'm a lover and a crier. No, I didn't cry as much because it didn't feel like I was in my body. But when you said that one line, that's when I remember the tear falling because that hit. Everything else after, I was like, I can't feel my body now.
If you see the pictures as well, she has a picture of her like crying and there's like a tear.
There's a literal tear right here.
Yeah, it's great.
So good. But I was going to say something else and I'm blanking. That's
the story.
That's our engagement story.
Yeah.
We got to go to lunch brunch after to celebrate. They gave True Food Kitchen, shout out.
It was a full day.
It was a full day.
We went out, amazing meal after.
Yeah.
And then we got back to to Cece's apartment, and she just had to obviously contact all the girlies and all her friends.
Oh my gosh,
she was like working, essentially. Not really. She was obviously excited to do it, but she was like calling everybody. It was like a task for people to call.
Yeah, for sure. And you got to explain the story and, give the whole lay down. But I feel so grateful that I get to do all that because it just means that I have that many people that love me so much, that I love so much, that just want to celebrate and do life with us. And that's the part that really wrecked me. Like, obviously, the biggest is that I get to literally marry Jonathan Lutz and become Cece Lutz.
Wow.
Wow, that has a ring to it.
What did one of your friends say? It sounds like a professional
figure skater. Franco said that.
Cece Lutz, the figure skater.
It kind of does. But that was obviously the biggest part where I was like, dang, all of these prayers have come into fruition, and I can't believe that I get to do life with this man for the rest of my life. Like, thank you, Jesus, And then looking around the room, like the rooftop, and just seeing the people, that's what always gets me every time. I'm like, when people move their schedules around and make time and drive up and bring things, like, to me, that is so much of what love is, because it's making a way where sometimes a lot of people will say that there is no way. They just find a way and they make time. And like I share on here all the time, like, time is our greatest gift that we have on this side of heaven. And so when people give me their time, when I'm able to give people their time, my time, I think that that's like the greatest act of love, in my opinion. Like, you guys plugging in right now for 31 minutes, you've been listening to us. Like, thank you for your time. It just means so much. So it's cool that I was thinking about this as we were prepping and as I was getting ready today. I was like, dang, this is going to be recorded one time, and we can listen to this when we're 20, 30, 40, or not 20, sorry, I don't know when I said
20 years?
20 years from now is what I meant. 30 years from now. Good. And beyond. And then, like, future kiddos could listen to this episode. That just blows my mind. But that is our engagement story.
Hope you enjoyed.
I hope that was, like, explained well.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty concise.
Okay. I'm like,
great.
all the details without being here for an hour. Okay, great. I thought that it would be also sweet to kind of pivot the way that we end this episode. As you know, if you've plugged into THATSJOY at all, then you know that with every guest, I always ask the question, what does joy mean to you? But since Jonathan has already answered that question on episode 25, shout out, go listen to that one, I thought that it would be cool if we both answered, what does joy in a relationship look like? So, Jay Lutz, take it away.
Yeah, I was not prepped for this.
I know. If you need a beat, we could...
Let's think here. When it comes to joy in a relationship, obviously, I don't think it's too much different than just joy in general. I think joy in a relationship is trying to, even in the hard times, still finding ways to like make life seem more light. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know exactly how to explain that, but I think it's easy to be joyful, obviously, when things are good.
Yeah.
So I think the joy in a relationship comes in knowing that, like, even in the hard times, at some point, you're going to get through it and it's going to be better, right?
Yeah.
So finding that joy, that excitement, the energy, the gratitude for life when things aren't going exactly as planned, or maybe when the other person is not feeling amazing, or, in maybe some state that's not ideal, still trying to find the gratitude to pull through for that person. Is that a good answer?
That's really good. You do that really well. I was going to say, I feel like a lot of people who listen to That's Joy, obviously you listen to me majority of the time speak, and so a lot of people...
Right back with this.
All right, so the other camera died, but you know what? This is a word. You gotta pivot a lot in relationship, on the camera. When the camera dies, what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna work through things together? I think you answered that so beautifully, because I think a lot of people don't get to see the behind the scenes. But what I was saying was that I, majority of the time when I'm out in public and when I am obviously recording, I probably am more outward and excited and joyful from like a worldly view, I guess you can say. But when I am home, when it is just Jonathan and I, and there's no cameras or recordings or anything, I retreat. And I think that's my moment to like charge more. And so I'm not as like uppity, I guess you can say. But I feel like you show me what it looks like behind the scenes to be more uppity and to be like the excited one. And I feel like so much of how you show up in that way fills me up in my retreating, that I am able to go out and pour more. And I was just talking to best friends about this, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I feel so fortunate, and like, I say this all the time, but truly, that I feel like I hit the lottery when it comes to relationships, but now especially with a fiance who is as kind and as loving and as selfless as Jonathan is. I feel so grateful. So I guess to answer the question directly of what does joy in a relationship look like to me, I think you show me this, and so it reminds me of this and to do this more. But it is to die to yourself every single day and to put the other before yourself, and obviously Jesus first, but then your partner second. And like, that's not saying you're neglecting your own needs, you're not taking care of yourself, like none of that is what I mean. I think y'all know what I mean. And it's saying, okay, selfishly I want to do this, but I know that that's not showing the other person love, so instead I'm going to do the thing that shows the other person love, even if I don't feel like it. And you do that really, really well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You do as well.
I try. Okay, so that is our engagement story. If you've hung around, you've seen all the different angles and moments, and hopefully feel encouraged that, heck, I am 28 years old. I know a lot of people get engaged when they're 21. No matter what age you're at, if you are in the waiting, I just pray to God that you are encouraged, that God has a plan that is better than anything that you could ever ask, think, or imagine, and that his plan is going to be beautiful, because he writes beautiful stories, and we get to be people who live that out, and I'm so grateful for that. So, Jonathan, if people are like, okay, love his vibe, where can I hang out with him? How can I get to know him more? Will you tell the people where they can show up for you?
Yeah, let's get real basic here with Instagram. Sorry, I don't know what I just did there. This little pause thing. So follow me on Instagram. Obviously, you can find my Instagram on Cece's account, but I post daily, sometimes 2 times daily. I'm in my stories a lot, trying to give as much health, fitness, mindset advice as I can that I think is going to help people. If you want to take a further step into improving yourself, whether you're single or whether you're not single, but specifically for people who are single, I think you've talked about this in other episodes about improving yourself while you are single, working on yourself. I think a big part of that is your health and your fitness, becoming the best version of yourself so you can show up for a partner in the way that you want that partner to show up for you. So if you want to improve your health, if you want to just feel better, be better from just a holistically health perspective, obviously I would love for you to reach out. I do online nutrition and fitness coaching, all things in between. If you're interested, we can do a little special That's Joy podcast discount. I haven't mentioned that to her, but if you reach out, I will give you a That's Joy discount So make sure to mention that you're from our podcast, but would love to obviously help you. And yeah, so follow me on Instagram. I'm posting on TikTok right now, so a little bit more content on TikTok than normal. But yeah, she'll put those in the show notes. And
one more thing. You're a podcast host.
Oh, I forgot about the podcast.
Come on,
if
he's
you follow
a podcast host.
Yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see all of it. But I also have a podcast called Health Minds, and I post every Monday and Friday. So I'm a 2-timer now, 2 times per week with an episode. I think it'll help you out a ton.
Yeah.
I think it's going to bring you a lot of value. So please tune in and share it with your friends, share it with your mom, your dad, your boyfriend.
Yeah, literally everyone.
Yeah, but
so we get a code. The code's THATSJOY.
I mean, you don't need a code, but that's joy.
It sounds cool, you know?
That's joy code.
Come on, we get our own code.
Oh my goodness. First code for the pod.
Wow. No, but actually it is. But to speak to that, obviously I'm incredibly biased, I'm sure, but the amount of value that this man brings to the world is next level. Like, he is the most hardworking person that I know. And so anything that you follow that he just mentioned, I know you're going to gain something from it. I have learned so much in the last year. And to speak even to what he was saying, if I didn't do that very thing that you said, I don't know if we would have met, because I would have never met Reagan. And like, obviously God has his plan. But it was an active choice that I made a little over a year ago, was, hey, I know that I know what I need to do, but I know that I'm not. So I'm going to reach out to a coach. And Reagan happened to be my coach through that season. And Jonathan happens to do the same thing. And so if you follow him, listen to his podcast, find incredible value from it, heck, reach out, because I highly doubt that you will ever regret making a choice to say yes to a better version of you. So that's all for that. We could make that another episode, but we won't do that because we've taken up your time. We are so, so grateful for every minute that you have listened, no matter where you're listening to right now. We have people all over, and I'm just so grateful that of all the places, of all the podcasts, you clicked play on this one. If there's a certain part of this episode that you loved, or if you're like, whoa, you mentioned that one thing, you guys, can you make another episode on that topic? We want to hear what that is. So shoot me a text to 615-813-4813 so we can share that. And if you're not following me on social yet, you can follow me at CCALBONERO and That's Joy the podcast as well. If you've not yet subscribed, rated, or left a review for That's Joy, you can do that by following on Apple or on Spotify, and it does wonders for podcasters. So if you listen to Jonathan's, do that too. And friends, I'll never leave an episode without saying, if you have even the smallest desire to meet the creator of the universe, or if you've already been saved but you're not really free, I want to invite you to sit at the table of plenty with me and so many others. I'm telling you, there's abundance here. There's an overflow here, and there's so much joy here. I'm here to tell you that God is for you. All you have to do is invite him into your heart right now. He's waiting for you. He wants to meet with you. And friend, I'm so proud of you. If you just made this decision, I'd love to know you. Shoot me a text to that number in the show notes so I could pray for you. I love you. God loves you. Jonathan loves you too. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.